with regards to this media reporting that Russia is withdrawing from the northern parts of Ukraine, and they keep using that term withdrawal as if to kind of telegraph that that the Russians are actually withdrawing their troops and heading back into Russia. They're not. That's kind of a slightly, well, the media is doing its thing, but it's slightly misleading. That's not a correct assessment. No one is withdrawing. Russia is not withdrawing from Ukraine, period. What it's doing is taking its attention from one side after it has destroyed that area, leveled some parts of, if you look at parts of Kiev, it's basically leveled out some of the towns around in and around Kiev. He left Kiev basically untouched in many ways because he's trying to take it in one whole piece. That's a no-brainer either. So he's not withdrawing from anything. The Russians are not withdrawing. They simply, when they're done destroying and turning parts of the town into rubble and pushing the people out of there, so they have basically no one to cause them any kind of grief later when they come back into that area, they will have no problems in the future when they return to that area, is what I'm trying to say. So they're basically taking their attention once they have destroyed parts of that area. They're moving towards other area. When it's all said and done, enough buildings have been destroyed, people have been pushed out. The media reporting that Russia is withdrawing, they're not withdrawing into anything. That's an incorrect assessment, and that's an incorrect verbiage to use, saying they're withdrawing. They're not withdrawing from anything. They're just simply taking their attention on one part after they have destroyed it and moving it into another. Now they're going, what do they say? We're focusing more on the eastern and the southern parts of Ukraine, Mariupol, some of the other areas that are there, Mykolaiv, and then now they're looking at eyeballing Odessa, which is another one of those grand prizes in the south. The port city of Odessa is basically a prize for the Russians to occupy. So, and then that city of Odessa more than likely would be bombed from the ocean because it's from the Black Sea. They wouldn't even really need to send any sort of troops in there. They would, but in my assessment, he would just bomb it from the sea, from the Black Sea area. So incorrect verbiage. Sometimes the media uses this terminology. I do understand it. I know what they're doing there, but it's incorrect, and it's not a proper assessment, or to use that verbiage that, oh, Russians are withdrawing. They're not withdrawing from anything. They're simply diverting their energy and their troops towards other parts where they need to actually go and destroy that part, that part of Ukraine. So when they diverted to the eastern and southeastern and the southern part, basically they're looking at destroying parts there, so they can slowly move in towards the north from those areas. So he's doing exactly what he did. Putin is doing exactly what he did in Aleppo, Syria. Once he was done destroying it and he managed to push people out of there, there was nothing else left there. So why do you focus on an area that's already destroyed? It's senseless, and it's illogical to assume that they're withdrawing. Well, there's nothing left there to focus on. So here's my point on that. Russia is simply diverting its energy into other parts that it needs to now destroy and turn into rubble. So southeastern part, southern part, looking at Odessa. Odessa is the next part they're eyeballing, and then they're gonna when they're done with Odessa, they will start moving in the northern direction towards the other parts, and more than likely they will focus on Lviv, which is the western part of Ukraine. And if you look at it, Lviv has been, semi-destroyed. There's been parts that have been bombed, but nothing too severe at this point. So once again, it's simply a tactic, it's a maneuver to move away from areas where they have already kind of leveled out. So the media using the term withdrawal is slightly, in my opinion, inaccurate to say that. So try to make another point there. Once all these areas have been destroyed and many individuals have been displaced and been pushed into the NATO areas, it lightens the load for the Russians to take over the nation. They do not want too many people in certain parts of Ukraine. So that makes sense. And as I mentioned before in one of the other videos, that I strongly feel that Putin or the Russians will use chemical weapons in Kiev. Why? Simply because they want to take it in one whole piece. You use chemical weapons, you move people out of there, and basically the infrastructure is still intact. So anyone with half a brain can understand that that's his maneuver there, to leave Kiev the way it is. It's no-brainer. It's absolutely a very common thing. You don't have to be privy to anything intelligence-wise to understand that part of it. So I leave it at that, move on from there, and basically wanted to make that point.